Coming up, dome field advantage or just a lot of hot air? A former employee claims he helped give the twins a push at home.
And he just was gone fast.
Plus, a thief wheels off with a local teenager's livelihood. But first, full combat may be over, but the violence and death rage on in Iraq.
This is KARE 11 News at 10.
Thanks for joining us. Rick has the night off. Pentagon officials call the wave of guerrilla attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq daunting.
This weekend alone, 5 American soldiers died in separate fights throughout the region. All told, 163 soldiers have died in action in Iraq, 16 more than the number of those killed in the 1991 Gulf War. 48 of those deaths may have come since May 1st, when President Bush declared an end to combat. One of the dead, a Shakopee man barely out of high school. Today, Jim Hergott's family and friends gathered to honor him and thousands of other American soldiers. Here's KARE 11's Greg Vandegrift.
There's a lot of young men over there that deserve our support and our honor.
Heartfelt words spell a message of thanks today.
It is a very big sacrifice they're making, so we want to honor that sacrifice.
This is from Jim's sister.
Words that touch Ken Kiwat's heart.
It says we support you all, and please come home.
Ken's son TJ serves in northern Iraq. His nephew Jim Hergott died there earlier this month, shot by a sniper, and yet
I don't waver. I believe in what our country does. I believe in what our troops do.
Today, with Hergott's sacrifice in mind, his hometown of Shakopee rallies for the troops, including words penned by another local soldier over there.
The Hergott family lost a son and a brother. America has gained a hero.
He's a hero. He's a special hero.
And words about Hergott's courage and reality in Iraq.
I was in Baghdad the day before that brave man was killed. It was, and it continues to be, a hellhole.
In Baghdad, where Hergott died, terror against U.S. troops continues. Today, a grenade attack kills another soldier, the 5th this weekend, and criticism of the president mounts in Washington.
Or they did not have a plan up to the task for post-war Iraq.
Back in Shakopee, from the other side of the aisle, a different view.
Every time an American soldier is killed or wounded, we feel the pain, and we feel the pain particularly here today because of that. But in the country as a whole, we're making great progress.
He called us on the phone. With a pride in his voice, for him there was no other choice.
Despite their loss, Jim Hergott's girlfriend, his family, his community chose to remember today. And to rally, to say that simple word, thanks to all the heroes.
I think it sends a message that there are still people over here that still do believe, and we haven't forgotten them.
As you heard, Congressman Klein believes the U.S. is making great progress. He met with the U.S. civilian leader of Iraq and is satisfied with his plans to turn control of the country over to the Iraqis. Amy and Brad.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
U.S. troops may have missed capturing Saddam Hussein by less than 24 hours. Soldiers raided Saddam's hometown of Tikrit, narrowly missing his security chief and possibly the dictator himself. Hours later, troops moved into an upscale West Baghdad neighborhood, apparently searching for Saddam. They surrounded the home of a prince, then tore apart his house looking for clues. Iraqis claim the U.S. soldiers killed at least 5 people during the neighborhood raid. The death toll from shelling in Liberia's capital continues to rise. At least 16 people have been killed in fighting between rebel and government forces in Monrovia. The commander of the rebel forces says they won't withdraw until peacekeeping forces arrive. The U.S. ambassador in Liberia is urging rebel leaders to end their bloody 8-day siege and withdraw.
Minnesotans who survived the Korean War honored the Minnesotans who did not. Today marks 50 years since an armistice ended the fighting in Korea. It was a bloody war that killed 700 Minnesotans and more than 36,000 Americans. In St. Paul, they remember the people who died fighting what's been called the Forgotten War.
It was a bloody war, yeah. And these politicians today still don't think it was a bloody war. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
The Minnesota veterans dedicated a wreath in honor of the dead. They also unveiled a copy of the new postage stamp honoring the National Korean War Memorial in Washington. More than 1,200 veterans marked the 50th anniversary at a ceremony in South Korea. They gathered in the southern half of the village of Panmunjom in the demilitarized zone. That city is where the armistice ending the Korean War was signed 50 years ago.
Minneapolis police are still searching for the person who shot 3 people on the city's north side. Gunfire erupted just before 4 this afternoon on 26th Avenue between Humboldt and Fremont. 3 people were wounded. The shooter fled on foot. One victim was taken to North Memorial where he underwent surgery. The other 2 victims were treated for minor injuries. Kelsey Stringer plans to sue the NFL tomorrow over the heat stroke death of her husband, Corey. The $100 million federal suit will reportedly question the league's rules and procedures. Corey Stringer died 2 years ago after a workout at camp in Mankato. His widow earlier filed a lawsuit against the Vikings, but the team was dismissed from that suit.
Late word tonight that a body found near Waco, Texas is that of a missing basketball player. The body found yesterday was badly decomposed, but late tonight authorities confirmed that it is Patrick Dennehy. Dennehy's roommate and former teammate Carlton Dotson has been charged with his murder. MCI is reportedly under investigation for defrauding other telephone companies of hundreds of millions of dollars. At issue, special access fees MCI is required to pay local carriers across the country. Investigators are looking into whether MCI avoided paying those fees by disguising long-distance calls as local calls. Company executives think the investigation is an effort by rival phone companies to prevent MCI from getting out of bankruptcy. Well, she relies on it to get around, but a local teen is without her wheelchair tonight.
The chair was stolen while Prabha Pickering sat just feet away. It happened yesterday at the Target store in Vadnais Heights, where Pickering works as a cashier. KARE 11's John Croman reports.
The Target in Vadnais Heights has been a good place to work for 17-year-old Prabha Pickering.
It's pretty good. It's really fun because I get to see people and see a lot of people from school and a lot of people from the neighborhood.
Prabha uses a wheelchair because of a condition known as arthrogryposis, which makes it hard for her to walk long distances.
My bones break really easy. I've broken almost 50 bones in 5 years. So that's kind of, I mean, they're fractures, small fractures and big fractures.
I think she certainly has a lot of courage and a pretty high pain tolerance. She's been through many surgeries and many fractured bones, and she still is pretty happy, pretty upbeat girl.
I'll be walking and my toe will break, or I'll be sitting and my tailbone will break.
But while Prabha was working the register at Target Saturday, a customer stole her wheelchair, someone who knew how to use it.
From what was told to us is that it was a person who had one leg amputated and had gotten into the chair and had just taken off.
It's just sad and unbelievable that someone would steal a wheelchair.
Store surveillance cameras captured the crime, and Prabha and her mother were allowed to see the tape.
You clearly see a gentleman sitting down in her chair, and then you see him trying to go through just the standard doors, and he's stuck, and then you see him turn the chair and then just go right out the power doors and, you know, go down the sidewalk to another store.
The stolen chair is a Quickie 2 model, lightweight manual similar to this one, opal black in color, and will cost $1,700 to replace.
Maybe he needed a wheelchair, but it's no reason to take someone else's wheelchair.
That Target has wheelchairs on hand for customers to use, so there's a chance this particular thief thought he was stealing a store-owned chair, not one that belonged to a 17-year-old girl, or he could have just staked it out and knew exactly what he was doing. Now, either way, the family's medical insurance will not cover a new chair, so they're hoping this thief will have a change of heart. Brad and Amy.
Very unfortunate story.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John. Well, did the World Series champion Twins really have dome field advantage? A former employee says yes. Dick Erickson told the Star-Tribune he purposely used fans along the roof of the dome to help blow Twins hits further. Erickson, who worked at the dome from 1982 until 1995, claims he boosted the fans behind home plate when the Twins were at bat during close games. Team and stadium officials consider Erickson's story unlikely. A U of M professor and his class conducted experiments to test Erickson's claims, but the results were inconclusive.
Still to come, Lance Armstrong makes cycling history in France, and the Twins go extra innings against Cleveland.
Plus, Don Moldenhauer says it's going to be a beautiful start to the week. And next in the Extra.
It's only, what, 6 o'clock?
A Minnesota photographer fights for his life and turns the camera on himself to document the battle.
I felt that this is probably one of the most important stories I would ever have to tell.
His emotional journey next.
decided from day one to take my little digital camera along with me.
A Minnesota photographer fights for his life and documents the battle every step of the way. When Chris Lummel of Big Lake heard he had cancer, he did what came naturally. He grabbed his camera.
During a full year of intense treatment, Lummel took more than 1,200 photographs to memorialize his ordeal. The result is an unusually intimate portrait of a life or death struggle. KARE 11's Mark Daly has tonight's extra.
Smiling, 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 right there. Adam, this way more yet. Smiling, happier, right there.
Perfect, perfect, right there.
Finding beauty in everyone.
I love it.
That's what Chris Lummel says is the secret to good photography.
I should pace myself, but I don't because I'm having too much fun, so I just keep rolling.
And you can pick these up at the school in about a week and a half.
Lummel first saw the beauty in his wife Kim when they sat next to each other in grade school. They married young, started their own business, and raised a family.
Everybody's helped us more than we could ever imagine. We're so lucky.
They feel lucky.
Can't improve on perfection. Looks good right there.
Despite the living nightmare they've been forced to endure.
I was panicked, terrified.
New Year's Eve 2001, Lummel took a test that would forever change his life.
The year before I was diagnosed, I could tell my body was going downhill.
The diagnosis? Multiple myeloma, a rare and often fatal cancer of the bone marrow.
I was so sad. I was afraid that what we'd worked for in our lives wasn't going to be anymore. I was afraid the boys weren't going to have a father. I was afraid I wasn't going to have a husband.
Life isn't about the types of things that are thrown at you. It's how you deal with those things that you're faced with every day.
Chris's instinctive reaction to this challenge was to grab a camera.
I felt that this is probably one of the most important stories I would ever have to tell.
3 days after the diagnosis, Chris began undergoing chemotherapy at Fairview University Medical Center. It was an ordeal that would last several months, and Chris was determined to document every minute of it, frequently snapping pictures of himself at arm's length.
He loves photography, and he loves his camera, and I thought about it, and it's what got him through.
The camera may have had positive side effects, but the chemotherapy was no cure.
They say God won't give you more than you can handle, but there were days that I wasn't sure.
After 4 months of chemo, 30% of Chris's bone marrow was still cancerous. In a journal he wrote, "I know it's not good to be discouraged, but it's more difficult to stay positive with each passing day." Doctors recommended a more aggressive chemotherapy program and radiation.
One of the hardest shots was he asked me to photograph him getting taped down for radiation. I couldn't even see him. Tears were in my eyes. I was scared.
The new treatment plan was in preparation for a bone marrow transplant. The donor would be Chris's youngest sister, Jenny. After chemotherapy obliterated Chris's faulty immune system, the goal was to replace it with more than 5 million of Jenny's stem cells. The procedure itself is relatively painless, but the side effects are almost unbearable. Rashes, nausea, fatigue, and mouth sores ravaged Chris's body to the point where he was almost unrecognizable.
These pictures of him at the worst, they're just heartbreaking.
I have to rely on what she tells me from those days because I really don't remember much.
As Chris drifted in and out of consciousness, Kim was constantly at his bedside.
She has taken my well-being to heart in such a way that it has brought comfort to me in every stage of the treatment.
Good morning, Lord, and we do thank you for this wonderful, wonderful new day.
And while fellow church members, friends, and neighbors prayed for his recovery.
And we thank you for what's been done in his body. We thank you, Lord, that he is healing.
There. Good job.
A young girl, about to turn 9,
just show me a little smile,
devised a plan with the help of her mother.
And so I'm like, I didn't need presents, and so then she's like, why don't you do something else for your birthday? And I'm like, that's how I thought of Chris.
Instead of presents, Kayla Bakken asked guests to bring donations to her birthday party.
And she brought it here to him, and we presented it in a card, and when they hugged, I almost lost it. But it was good. It was a good feeling.
Do you have a boyfriend at school?
Chris recently returned the favor with a special portrait shoot in his studio.
There's the boyfriend smile, I think.
No. We're happy, but we just don't want to get too happy. It's just going to always be with us in the back of our minds.
But this is better.
Doctors say Chris is one of the lucky ones. The bone marrow transplant worked, and Chris is cancer-free, for now at least.
You know, so it's one of those things you don't know the answer to. You keep following over time.
He just can't keep his eyes off you.
Back on the job.
Right now. Got it. Good job. How do they look?
Chris once again searches for the beauty in everyone.
There you go.
He never, never, never complained.
The beauty in Chris, however, is easy to see.
Got it, just like that.
I like that.
Anything I do, I go into it wholeheartedly and with the intention to succeed.
Mark Daly, KARE 11 News.
Got it right there. All right. Good job.
While Lemmel was hospitalized, several professional photographers covered for him and kept his studio open to help pay some bills. Lemmel is back at work full-time now. He's been in remission for a year and says he's doing just fine.
Good for him. Coming up Wednesday at 10, it's a part of Minnesota most people never see. We're going caving in the Gopher Getaway. Then on Thursday,
a competition that tests the limits of the world's greatest triathletes is coming to Minneapolis. We'll talk to 2 local athletes in this fierce battle of the sexes as they swim, bike, and run their way to the largest prize in triathlon history. Thursday at 10 in the Extra.
And Don is out in the backyard. Let's join him out there. Another gorgeous Sunday, Don.
You're a triathlete, aren't you, Don?
What's that?
You're a triathlete, aren't you?
Oh, yeah. Can't you tell? No, boy, I'd like to be able to do what those guys can do. But, boy, today, big change made easier to do just about anything outside after yesterday's steamy heat. Today, temperatures dropped off, and so did the dew points. And that's the trend we're going to see continue as we head on through the upcoming week. Let's start off tonight with a weather spy. This one is from the holiday vacation photo album from Sean Monette from Brooklyn Park. They were in Winona. They were camping. He said we saw a lot of beautiful scenery, and this sunset was just one example of that. They wanted to share this with our viewers, so thanks, Sean, for sending that on in. We will see some beautiful scenery as we head on through the upcoming week as we get some nice sunsets coming in here. Tonight, though, a little tough to see. We had some breaks in the clouds through the day, but you can see those clouds were persistent as they moved on through. And it looked like it was going to rain all day, but it didn't quite pull that off, at least not yet here in the metro. Rain bucket empty, 86 are high today, the low 69 degrees. It's cloudy, 75 right now, and that dew point is at 60, which is sticky, but not as bad as what we saw around here yesterday. Those showers have been working their way east all day from the western part of Minnesota, approaching the Twin Cities. Here you can see on Skyscan Viper those showers off to the west of the metro. They look pretty impressive, but they have been weakening as they've been moving along to the east. We may see enough to spot the windshields on a few cars around here during the overnight hours, but this is going to move through in the next couple of hours. I think the morning drive should be mainly dry, maybe a little bit patchy fog in the wake of these showers. Let's take a look at what's going to happen this week. A change in the weather pattern is in store for us. We will not be seeing a repeat of yesterday's heat and humidity. Winds in the upper atmosphere will develop a little bit of a dip here. You can see it developing as it moves on in closer to the middle part of the week. And when we get these, the atmosphere gets unstable. Cool air comes in aloft. That can trigger some spotty showers, and I think that will be the pattern and the trend for the middle part of the week as this weather pattern develops. And again, as this comes in, one thing it's going to do is make things pretty comfortable around here. Gone will be what happened around here yesterday. The Saturday heat is gone for a while. Yesterday, 91 in Duluth. That was the first time that's happened in 2 years. Heat index around the metro was over 100, and the dew points were close to 80 degrees in some spots in western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota, and that's about as high as the dew points get. But here's where our air is coming from. It is drier up there. All the steamy tropical air will be pushed off to the south of us for the upcoming week. Here's the forecast then for tonight. Some sprinkles are possible early, especially in the southwestern part of the metro. Some breaks in the clouds later could lead to a little bit of patchy fog. Low temperatures tonight dropping down to 62 to 65. For tomorrow, patchy clouds, some spotty showers develop, highs 80 to 85 degrees. And that will be the case as we go through the week. Maybe some thunderstorms late Tuesday, probably closer to sunset time. A few thunder showers possible Wednesday, then just spotty showers on Thursday. Highs only in the mid to upper 70s by about Thursday. And around the rest of Minnesota and Wisconsin tonight, 57 for Bemidji, Walker, 82 tomorrow. And for Menominee, 63 tonight and 82 degrees on the high temperature tomorrow. So Brad and Amy, kind of almost a hint of fall type pattern coming in for the middle part of the week. Not real cool, but cooler than what we've seen.
We'll take it.
It's not that far away.
Yep.
Thanks, Don. Well, coming up in sports with Eric Perkins, the Vikings welcome a late addition to training camp.
Lance Armstrong wins another Tour de France, and the Twins run into trouble against the Indians. Highlights are next.
Like Christian Groove.
Welcome back. Time now for sports with Eric Perkins. Well, the no-show showed.
Yeah, it's about darn time.
He's pretty sure of himself too, isn't he?
Yeah, he's he doesn't lack for self-confidence, which is probably a good thing in some cases, maybe not. Day 2 is done in Mankato. The biggest development besides a feisty practice this morning is the signing of rookie running back Ontario Smith. Smith comes to Mankato after inking his deal. He attends the afternoon practice. The running back from Oregon takes part in special teams play today only. The 4th-round pick is behind the curve somewhat after missing 14 days of developmental camp. But the bottom line is he's here now, and the Vikes sure need his talents, especially considering their injury situation at running back. They are hobbled halfback and only sit and watch as his team goes through drills. Michael Bennett had a pretty good breakout season, rushing for 1,296 yards. But a broken foot discovered in the offseason will force Bennett to probably miss about half the season. Obviously, with guys like Smith, Doug Chapman, and Mo Williams, capable backups are in place. But that doesn't make it any easier for this guy who desperately wants to play football.
It's tough, man. You know, I have to wake up in the morning, be the last one to the practice field every day. But, it's one of them things that I have to go through in life. And I'm looking forward to, the journey of, trying to get back.
You're probably the best golf cart driver around.
Oh, yeah. I got skills on the golf cart.
Lance Armstrong has worn a yellow jersey so often, Big Bird is suing for copyright infringement. The American in Paris wins again his 5th Tour de France title. Armstrong brings it home today for the end of the grueling 23-day, 2,000-plus miles cycling race. He finishes first for a record-tying 5th consecutive year, winning this year's race by just 61 seconds. Less dominant than years past, but another historic win nonetheless. Twins play a game and a half today and still aren't able to pull out a victory. A disappointing outing in Cleveland. Not a whole lot of scoring in this one. Defense rules. Plays like this one by Doug Minkiewicz, making the beautiful layout for this Jody Garrett grounder. We're tied at 1 until the 6th inning. That's when Jock Jones rips the single to center. A.J. Przinsky trucks home. Milton Bradley's throw is close, but not close enough. 2-1 Minnesota. In the bottom of the 9th, the all-star closer tries to close it out, but a Victor Martinez sac fly ties it up. The save is blown, and we go to extra innings. 14 to be exact, and that's when Tim Laker drives the bases-loaded single to left off Juan Rincon. Cleveland wins the game and the series. Twins come back home to face Baltimore and Detroit now. They fall 6.5 back in the Central because Kansas City wins again, whipping Detroit. Rookie of the Year candidate Angel Baroa belts his 13th home run of the season. But the real story here is Jose Lima. Waived by the Tigers last season, he was all but forgotten pitching for the Newark Bears of the Independent Atlantic League when the Royals picked him up, and now today he wins his 7th game, still no losses. Some gremlins today in Chicago. Check this out. Carl Crawford at the bat, and check out the plastic bag that blows in his face just as the pitch is about to come. They don't call it the Windy City for nothing. Heads up, Carl. Jeez. The gremlins don't stop there. Aubrey Huff at the bat. The ground ball to Valentine, who turns it to Tony Graffinino, who does what? Throws it into the seats somewhere. Weird game. Sox win today 9-1. Bob Uecker finally gets his front row seat today. He's inducted in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. As a player, Uecker was a third-string catcher with Milwaukee and had a career batting average of .199. But there's a broadcasting wing to the Hall, and that's where the play-by-play guy is honored today. Also inducted into the Hall, former Orioles slugger Eddie Murray, the only player to have over 500 homers and 3,000 hits, and catcher Gary Carter, the first player ever inducted as a Montreal Expo. Blast from the past at the Greater Hartford Open. Wow. Peter Jacobson, who won this event back in 1984, comes through to hold off the competition today. The first victory on tour for the 49-year-old Jacobson. in 8 years. Great story there. Ricky Rudd is honored at the Pennsylvania 500 today. Rudd making his 700th consecutive start. But the race itself belongs to Ryan Newman, who takes the checkered flag for the 4th time this year, barely edging out Kurt Busch at Pocono. Newman, of course, drives a Dodge. I know you asked me about that earlier.
That thing got a Hemi? All right, thanks a lot,
Thanks,
Eric.
Kirk. Still to come, an anniversary party with dozens of brides and grooms.
Plus, a look at tonight's winning lottery numbers. Before we go, a very crowded anniversary party. Dozens of couples who made Jax's Cafe part of their wedding weekend return tonight for another celebration. Nearly 10,000 couples have held their groom's dinner or wedding receptions at the Minneapolis restaurant in the last 70 years. As part of tonight's event, Judge Patrick Fitzgerald renewed the couple's vows. Then everyone enjoyed free cake and champagne. Of course, of the 10,000 couples, only a few dozen are left still married anyway.
Ooh, such a pessimist, right?
Yeah, I'm always optimistic. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night.